Hey, everybody, it is Wednesday, hump day. And of course, this is also another day for the Angela Ray Show. I hope that you all have had a great week thus far and are ready to get over this hump. As always, we're going to start our show today with our Ray of Motivation moment. And our Ray of Motivation moment is actually taken from Ray of Motivation number 35. And if you've been following the broadcast for a while, you know that I end every single show with Ray of Motivation number 54. What you may not know, because someone did ask, like, are you going to do something with all of these Rays of Motivation? Well, I have already. It's called a book. It's a book called Rays of Motivation. And if you would like to get a copy, you can get a copy on Amazon.com. Ray of Motivation, and I'll just, just for visual effect, bam, that's the book. So if you're out there looking for it, you know exactly what it looks like. Ray of Motivation number 35 states that celebrate on your drive to the end zone because a touchdown only lasts a few seconds. So I don't know about you all, but I am definitely missing football, like missing football, missing all sports, missing football, missing basketball at this moment, but definitely missing just some of the highlights that we will be seeing with football, knowing what's coming in the fall with college football as well as pro football. And if you watch football, you know that during a game, there's so much that happens before there's a touchdown. Maybe someone makes a 1st and 10, someone makes an interception. Maybe one team makes a sack while the other team is celebrating. And one of the things that I found very confusing when I first started watching football was how could both teams, fans of both teams, be celebrating at the same time? Maybe, just maybe, the defense got a great sack, but at the same time, before they got that sack, maybe something was going on the offense. It is just amazing for me to watch as fans get really excited. But when it's time for whoever makes it to the end zone, when they make that touchdown, there's just all kinds of crazy celebrations. And I really miss, before all of the penalties for excessive celebrations, how people will get into the end zone and do dances. And sometimes I really feel like some of those moves were choreographed in advance. What does that have to do with you? As we make our way to achieving our goals, whether that goal is something that we would call the touchdown in our careers or in our personal lives, maybe to get healthier, to become more fit, lose weight, to get better organized. There are things that will happen along the way. So for that first 3 pounds that you lose, that's a great time to celebrate. For the next 5 pounds that you lose, that's another reason to celebrate. Maybe it's your career path that you are looking to have another level of achievement. So every single step of the way, whatever it is that you are driving down the field to achieve, you want to make sure you celebrate every single milestone. And that is our Ray of Motivation moment for this Hump Day Wednesday. So I am really excited to talk to our guest for tonight. While we were talking just a little bit before the broadcast started, I was reminded how long we've known each other. As a matter of fact, he mentioned something. I was like, wait a minute. I know that's a running joke between us, but I can't quite remember exactly what it's in reference to. And literally, just like that, it all came back to me. I'm not going to say he doesn't need an introduction, but I will just remind you of what you may or may not know about him. Of course, he is a part of the hip hop group Kid and Play. In addition to that, you've seen him on House Party 1, 2, 3, as well as Class Act. These days, he's been spending a lot of time educating the next generation, both at North Carolina Central University, Miles College, as well as Florida A&M. And he has taken those creative endeavors behind the camera and become a documentary filmmaker. So help me welcome tonight's special guest, Mr. Christopher Play Martin. What's up? What's up? What's up, Chris?
I bow to you, Angela Ray, the
Oh,
rayest
you're
of them
funny.
all. The rayest of them all.
The
Hello,
race
how
of
are you
them
doing?
all. Okay. I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great when I take the time to really think about it. But it's funny because sometimes you don't ask yourself that question, like, how am I doing? Because the workaholic that I can be, and the answer is I'm great. I'm great. As odd as it may be in these particular times, I'm great. Yeah.
Now, that is good to hear. So, I think that many people know your journey, know bits and pieces of your journey, particularly as it pertains to being a rapper. But I would love to
A
know.
gift wrapper around Christmas time. That's the best I can do. Yeah.
Okay. I would be curious to know when you first got started in the business, when I guess we'll say maybe with that first record deal, what was your ultimate goal at that time?
Women.
Okay. Hey, you know what? Honesty. You know what I'm saying? Honesty. I
Women.
love
I
it. I
mean,
love it.
it's funny when, after Class Act, it might have been a little bit before that, I was getting quite a bit of compliments in regards to my acting abilities. And, when people want to go more into an answer about that, I can tell sometimes they're anticipating me saying, I've always been a thespian of the theater, or I went to acting school. And it's no, it was because of Shaniqua and Candy and Kim and, Cheryl or whatever, just pick girls' names and stuff. I heard women like guys who rapped at the time. So I said, hey, I think I can do that, enough to
Hmm.
get some things accomplished, my agenda. But what, God says what man means for bad, God turns into good. So he used that as my dangling carrot as life went for what lied ahead as life went on.
So that's why you initially, well, that was one of your initial goals. Now you're in it. First album has dropped. The girls are plentiful. Yes.
The answer really hasn't changed even at that point. You can go ahead. I mean, what ended up happening, okay, let's say around that point and probably more after, is my world had opened up more. I was a statistic waiting to happen. I was doing a lot of things out there in these streets that I shouldn't even be here doing this interview with you. But I'll never forget when we started getting the crew that I was with at the time. We were getting pretty well known in the tri-state area, in New York in particular, and we were meeting some very influential people who saw something in us that we didn't necessarily see in ourselves. I know for me. And I'll never forget when, I think it was the Roxy, or either it was Club 1018, where Africa Bambaataa and them was spinning and performing. And when I walked in and saw women and men, white women and men in particular, dressed in suits and dresses, looked like they just came off of Fifth Avenue or Madison Avenue in the city, dancing with people that look like me, dancing together and having a good time with this music. That was some ray of hope, excuse the pun, that there was something more than what I thought, because I thought what my destiny was to be was either a successful hustler, stick-up kid, drug dealer, whatever, but or to get married and work in a factory. Because one of my jobs, I've had many jobs. One of my jobs was I was a corkscrew maker. I was on the assembly line of making corkscrews that you open your wine with, and getting
Okay.
good money. So I thought at the time, really, really good money. So I was saving up in a Sears Roebuck catalog to get the girl I was with at the time a ring to ask her to marry me. And I thought that's what life was going to be, something like that. And I saw in that image, seeing this day, I was like, wow, there's more to East Elmhurst, Queens, New York than just what I knew.
So it is beginning to change your outlook on this new platform
Right.
that you've been given. House Party 1 drops.
Well,
Had that outlook change?
it was a lot before that. You know what I'm saying? I
Okay.
mean,
Okay.
the thing was, the equivalent of doing a movie, maybe to me, was, us being able to do our first music video. That was like, might as well have been a movie, because that was everything then.
Okay.
For the record company or someone or someone's to have enough faith in you that it's like, all right, we're going to do a music video for this. So that was huge, because prior to movies, which hadn't been proven, not necessarily at that time, music videos was everything. But to have them on a very popular channel that all of your peers and friends looked at, and the show to be on was Video Music Box. Big shout out to Ralph McDaniels and the Vid Kid Lionel Martin that ran that show. but it was everything to be on that, to get your music video on there. It was everything to be. We were the darlings. We were regulars with BET, with Rap City and Teen Challenge, and not Teen Challenge, what was Teen Summit and all of
Oh
that.
yeah.
So that was, to me, my movie. You know what I'm saying? It was just huge. And even if this is how big music videos were. Even if you weren't the main person or the artist in the music video, it meant everything just for you to have what they call an extra in movies, to be an extra in a music video and just make sure you're seen. One
Right.
interesting story, when we did Rolling with Kid and Play, that music video where it took place with us being high school antics in a school, you see Cheryl from Salt and Pepper in the front row of the talent show that's in that music video. There's a friend of ours that used to hang out with us quite a bit. His name is Paul. God bless him. He's still out there somewhere. If you ever see that music video, in the music video, the guy sitting next to Salt has his arm around her constantly. So whatever she's doing, he's right there. His thought for doing that, which was genius, is like, I know she's going to be in this music video. So for my arm to be around her and just stick to her like glue, I know I'm going to be in the music video. And he just, he got everything he wanted from that right there. But music videos was everything. And leading to what you were asking, I believe, is that because of the resonated fun and the success of our music videos, that's what caught the attention of Reggie and Warrington Hudlin for us to be the leads in House Party.
Ah, okay. So the excitement, the joy, and the enthusiasm was doing those music videos long before there was ever a film.
We never thought, no one really in hip hop thought. I mean, there was some attempts. You had Wild Style, classic. You had Beat Street, classic. But they never performed the way we wish they did. But Wild Style did, but it just didn't blow up. It became a cult classic over the years. But with Beat Street and a couple of others, we didn't feel in the streets that it really spoke to and really captured successfully the essence and the DNA of hip hop, what would be called hip hop culture and stuff like that. So that wasn't even on our wish list. I hadn't thought I'd ever make a record, but we never even thought of making any movies. It just forget about it. It wasn't even nowhere in our psyche, my psyche at least.
Gotcha. Now, I don't think I have ever asked you this, but I don't know if I saw it on an interview with Cheryl, or if it was you, or if it was Herbie, but all of you all working together at a Sears before you all took off?
We had a common thread, which was Sears and Roebuck's maintenance center in Queens, was this College Point, Queens, right off of Flushing. People who know that already know what I speak of. But no, I was the first one to work there. It meant everything to get a job at that point, because for me, I was in a lot of trouble. In order for me to stay home, my mother as well, either you're going to school or you're getting a job. So I got kicked out of 5 high schools, so that got really limited. I think there ended up being a poster in all the other high schools with my face on the bill as a do not let him attend. But
wow.
I ended up getting that job to make an attempt at trying to be on the straight and narrow. It was everything to my friends, like, Kid's father was giving him stuff about it. Herbie's father was giving him stuff about it. Cheryl and Sandy, they were going to Queens College. I think they were going there for nursing, if I believe. So I got the job first, told Kid about it. He got the job. We told Herbie about it. Herbie got the job. Some other like-minded people. It wasn't a time when we was all there together. I think that one time that we was all there together was me, Herbie, and Kid. Then I got fired. Then Kid got fired. I think Kid was there a little bit when Cheryl and Sandy got there. But Cheryl and Sandy were the last ones, with Herbie last ones standing. And then eventually they got fired. It wasn't the easiest job to keep if you wasn't about your business there, because it was about selling maintenance agreements, pretty much, maintenance agreements on whatever item you bought that you didn't purchase at the time of purchase, like a washing machine, refrigerator, air conditioner, stuff like that.
Okay. Wow. So y'all got fired.
Oh yeah,
And look at you
we call it
now.
Whips and Chains. That was our title for it. It's like, yo, Whips and Chains. That's what it was called.
So I'm just curious, at any point, did any of your former supervisors or managers from that place, like, try to show up at a concert or try to like offer a peace offering, anything like that?
Not that I know of. I mean, they weren't wrong. They were right. I mean, I still remember their names. Betty Kane was the one. We all had cubicles, and all sitting by side, but with cubicles. And she'd walk around over our shoulder, hear what we were saying, pretty much like you see in movies and television shows when someone has those kind of telephone jobs, um,
Mm-hmm.
and be looking over our shoulder and listening to our conversations to hear that we're being courteous and professional as we're speaking to these customers, trying to get them to buy an agreement. Tom Ranelli was the boss. Thomas Ranelli, I still remember him. He had his own office where his office could look over all of us, and he had like these blinds that either he would open or close. But when he asked you to come in the office, and if he left the blinds open, you were probably just going to get a warning, or you were getting complimented for doing good work. But if he brought you in the office and right behind you and him closing the door and he closed those blinds, 9 times out of 10, you're getting fired. We'd go, whips and whips and chains. So no, maybe they did. Not that I know of. I know I would have loved to have been the fly on the wall when they did, watch television, or maybe their kids or grandkids was like, whatever. And I'm sure one of them and maybe both of them noticed, like, wow, look what these guys became. Because Martin was a part of that group too. Martin used to work in the gas station across the street from where we worked at the Hess gas station. And I don't know if he got fired, but I know he left there and ended up coming over to work for Sears. Yeah.
Wow, that Sears job sounded like it was a hookup.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was. It was meant for people as an after-school job. That's what it wasn't really meant to be a full-time thing. Even though they had some retirees in there. I think the guy that I kind of like befriended, or he befriended me, was a guy named Henry. Yeah, I'm sure he's not alive now because he was up there in age then. Not wishing nothing on him, but yeah. Mhm.
I'm glad you cleared that up. Glad you cleared that up.
Yeah, right.
All
Right.
right. So
Right.
we've done these great music videos, which led to this opportunity to do House Party 1. And then
Right.
there's House Party 2. And then there is House Party 3. Which one of the three was your favorite?
None of them. I like Class Act.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I like that because it had a message to it, and it brought a thing to me that I wasn't either paying attention to or wasn't aware of, dealing with class division, not class as far as school class, but economic class. And the fact of what that movie was about had an undertone of it, was the have and the have-nots. The undesirables was put in a certain section of this school, and the ones that were considered exceptional was put in another part, and how they were treated. So the situation that happened with Kid and I's character, Blade Brown, and Duncan Penderhughes, there was a mix-up with the files. So here I am being put in the good, well-to-do section, and there he is being put in the thug section. So that had that kind of under lesson or story in it. And then I just thought it was a real good concept, that plus it was a lot. The reason why Kid and I decided to do it was because it was a lot like our real lives at one point in our lives. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate and I love the house parties and I get it. But my favorite is Class Act,
Interesting.
Yeah.
You have a question already. Play. Can you see that question up there on the
Oh, I
screen?
know we had that feature here. I love the old school rap and hip hop. It seems like the fun, the respect for women, and the creativity in lyrics is lacking. What current artists do you like, and what is on your playlist? Oh, I might disappoint y'all. I am stuck in late 60s, all of the 70s, and all of the 80s, and Earth, Wind, and Fire all day. That helps my creative flow, and maybe we'll get into that later. I like the classic. If I have to, shine a light on hip hop, I like that classic era, the golden era that is considered, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five and all of that. As far as, current artists, I can appreciate the creativity and the boldness to be different. Of course, Kanye would be on that list somewhere. Kendrick Lamar. I like Dave East for some reason, the first time I paid attention to something he did, and it's interesting how he and I kind of became indirect friends. Dave East is cool. I like Childish Gambino.
Oh
But I'm
yeah.
the best person to ask is like Kid. Kid knows all this stuff verbatim. We could be in a car and any one of these today's hip hop artists will come and he knows the words verbatim. Me, I'm going to be in the disco era, the classic era of R&B. That's where a lot of my creative flow and juices flow from because it reminds me of a time being in my parents' home and drawing. I'm a self-taught artist pretty much, and just listening to Earth, Wind and Fire and WBLS and radio in New York and just not even realizing that I broke daylight, from one day into the other, just drawing and creating. So that's my thing. But yeah, there has been a change. I can't say we were angels back then when it came to our thoughts or our motives, but at least there was more discretion, I would say, and more respect, but we weren't angels. I would never say that.
So you've had the movies, all of the movies. You even had a cartoon. Mm-hmm. All of this. Your platform is continuing to expand. Then you took some time away from the public eye, and you got involved with education. What was that transition like?
Well, I became born again. And, it gets to that point where it's like, all right, what do I do? Do I become a doctor now or whatever? And the Lord made it very clear. It's like, no, all these years I've invested in you to know what you know in entertainment. We're going to take that and do some things with it. So to take that celebrity or that popularity to be able to get the attention of those that normally wouldn't think about going to school and being headed down the wrong pitch, and to just share. My motto sometimes when I speak with people is like, I might not be able to tell you what to do, but I can sure enough be able to tell you what not to do. So for me, having the credibility of being kicked out of 5 high schools, barely get my GED, but then to turn around, to express and to confess I was wrong, and to see what happens when you do it. And me and Ralph Tresvant used to have this thing we call doing it the right way. So, so that was my testimony. And at the same time, in an unorthodox way, being able to learn some things that I missed not going to high school, with somewhat of a creative barter. Like, hey, you come here, you live on campus, you attend here, use your celebrity as a, what is that called? That thing called when you're getting people to come to school. No, it's recruiting. To recruit, and there's another word for it too, but to do that. But hey, you can sit in some classes, you can get some classes, you can learn, you can make up for what, you lost and need to know to move forward. So it wasn't that hard. I mean, my first one was Miles College. That happened in a very interesting way. I was doing a lot of stage plays, gospel stage plays, and God bless his heart, he passed. Dr. Albert Sloan was the president of Miles College, and they call it Birmingham, but it was really what section of town? It'll come to me when I'm trying to stop think about it. But in Birmingham for now, Miles College, and I learned a lot and had to go through some growing pains and some, molding and whatever. I had to unlearn and relearn. Then from there was North Carolina Central University. God bless Dr. James Ammons. And then from there, Dr. James Ammons, chancellor, went on to here to Florida A&M University and brought me along with Kawachi Clemens, Dr. Kawachi Clemens, and North Carolina Central. It was myself, Dr. Kawachi Clemens, and Ninth Wonder. And in all in between and during those times, there was times where I was artist in residence at North Carolina Central University and Florida A&M University, but also speaking at Stanford, Duke University, a lot of the HBCUs. Is too numerous for this time that we have allotted at this time. But yeah, all of that. It was awesome. It was really awesome. It wasn't always easy, but it was awesome nevertheless.
Yeah, I remember that because I remember teasing you like, what are you, the fly professor, like Tom Joyner, like the fly jock? Because you were going back and forth.
Because there was a time where I had to make a choice between North Carolina Central University and Florida
FAMU.
A&M University. So I
Hmm.
didn't know what to do. And Kid and I, we're still working. That's the great thing, because house party, Kid and Play is the gift that just keeps on giving. So we were doing the Tom Joyner cruise for the umpteenth time. And, he knew what I was doing with the schools and was very proud of me and all of that. So I said, man, I have this dilemma. He said, what's the problem? I said, I have to choose between A and B. And he said, why don't you do both? And it's such a light bulb that went up over my head. Who else better to tell me that? Because he was the fly jock, all of that. And he said, do both. And that's what I did, to the point where I couldn't do it anymore, not because of any issues with the schools, because it was very taxing, but it was great for my mileage on the planes. But it was very, 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 very taxing, after a while, all of that, back and forth and being on time for this class and this, that, and this. But it was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah.
You have another question, and I don't know if you've already answered it, but I'll let you take a stab at it.
Beverly Sellers. How you doing, Beverly? She's asking, are you truly happy with life after fame? Well, I don't know if it's after. I mean, it's still, I don't even like the word fame. I choose the word popular. But Kid and I have been working now more than almost as equal. I won't say more, as we have before touring. We've done like a 4-year stint with I Love the 90s with Salt-N-Pepa and many others. And we went from that, took a very short break and went on the Hammer tour. And right after that, we did some cruise stuff. And then not too long after that, this thing took place. And now some very interesting announcements will be taking place in a couple of days, with stuff we'll be doing streaming wise. But, after the kind of fame that you may be talking about it, no, I am. As a matter of fact, I do one better than happy. I have joy. A good friend of mine, Taylor Michaels, God bless her soul, she passed, once gave me an excellent, that I'll share with you guys, illustration of the difference between happy and joy. Happy is like being outside, and whatever weather conditions is going on, you're at the mercy of those conditions. If it's raining, you get wet. If it's cold, you're cold. If it's hot, you're hot. You're at that mercy. Joy is like being inside and setting your thermostat to whatever temperature you like. Say you like 70 degrees. Whatever's going on outside, rain, sleet, snow, summer, whatever, it doesn't matter. You're inside and you're at 70 degrees. That's joy. So I have a lot of joy, and I do go through some really good moments and seasons of happiness. But yes, I'm good. Every day isn't always great. We deal with our growing pains and stuff we have to do to get better and to grow. But overall, at the end of the day, beginning of the day, if you have a conversation with God, he's like, he'll go through a checklist of things in your life, and prayerfully you go, yeah. And then you realize, oh, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Mostly we get caught up in tomorrow or next week or next year. And that's when we start dealing with some degree of anxiety. So leave it alone if you can.
Yeah. You got another question from Edwin, and I just got to give a shout out to Edwin. Edwin, I believe, has been on every single broadcast that I've had. So such a tremendous supporter. I appreciate it.
What's up, Edwin Evans? On behalf of myself and Angela, we thank you for your support and your consistency and your loyalty and all that good stuff. He asks, what is it like to be an iconic figure in American culture, especially in the Black community? I don't think about it. It's great, but I'd also like to say, in total, continue to keep it honest, I'm still working on it. You know what I'm saying? My work is not done. I have no problem with being associated with the kind of movies that mean to people what the movie Coolie High meant to me in my life. For some of y'all, remember Coolie High?
Yes,
Preacher,
Lord.
all of that.
I can't wait to tell Coach Cheese.
Yeah, all of that. You know what I'm saying? Oh, baby, your mama loved the dark. Anyway, so I see that's what House Party and others we've done mean to that. But I don't, dwell on that. I don't assume anything. But I thank you for asking that question and perhaps looking at me at that way. And all I can do is hope that I carry it with respect and dignity and be that kind of example for who's next in line to, like, what I mean? I want to take some notes from the right things I've done and carry that torch, So, but thank you.
So we were talking about there was the music side, there was the movie side. You've been
Right.
touring, you've been educating, but you've also stepped behind the camera and started working on your own documentaries. I believe the first one that I saw was Welcome to Durham. How
Oh
did you
wow.
get involved? I know, yeah, I went back. You weren't
Yeah.
expecting me to mention that one. How did you get involved with that particular documentary?
Well, before that was another project I worked on. You know, my good friend Cheryl Saw from Salt and Pepper. I did a project called, excuse me, Apartment 36D.
I
And it
remember
was a
that.
subject matter that I wanted to get off my chest in regards to what it didn't start out that way, but it went into pretty much being a substance abuse uh, subject matter where I wanted to tap into some of the ways men get to a certain place in life and how we try to act like certain things don't bother us. I never let no woman break me down. I ain't got no heartbreak. She wasn't nothing to me. And then other things going on in our lives. And here's a story that I played of this guy that ends up in this place of drug and alcohol addiction because of the loss of a love. But then fast forward, and that was the reason why I bring that up is because it introduced me to the fundamentals that I was very ignorant and arrogant about in filmmaking. So then I'm getting introduced to the Raleigh-Durham area, Chancellor James Ammons, North Carolina Central. But then I'm meeting Cicero Leaks, Scotty Rock, Mike Nice, Mike Wilson, all of them part of this group called the Butter Team, this group of DJs. And they came up with this track called Welcome to Durham that featured Little Brother and Big Daddy Kane. And I guess they were impressed with some things they saw me do and asked would I redo it because I did the music video. That's what I did. But then because of some issues that took place behind the scenes with the actual documentary, they asked would I redo it. So I came in and did what you would call like a remix to it. So that's how that came about, yeah.
So there was the first one. There was Welcome to Durham. What was your third? Was it Architects of Hip Hop? Was that before And I
No,
Dance?
Architects of Hip Hop is a show, is a
Okay.
series.
Okay.
I started working on this thing called Can Hip Hop Go to School? Because when Chancellor Ammons, who had this vision of actually making hip hop an official credited course, I believe that's it wasn't that in the beginning, but he believed hip hop needed to stay preserved and kept in the community in which birthed it and innovated it. So he had myself, Dr. Kawachi Clemens, and Ninth Wonder to spearhead and educate and teach this class, which started out in a regular classroom. It was so popular, we literally had to go into the auditorium of North Carolina Central University to teach. And we went up as high as, I want to say like 160 something students. That's how much. And then not to mention, we had surprise guests that would come and speak. D from Run DMC. I'm sorry, DMC from Run DMC. Trey Songz came through. A whole bunch of people came through.
And this
Surprise
was
guests.
at B and Duke Auditorium at North Carolina Central?
Say what?
Were you holding this over at B and Duke Auditorium at North Carolina Central?
Yeah, that's what the auditorium is called. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
I just wonder why I never got an invite because I think I was like close by then, but I'm digressing. But go
I guess
ahead.
we had the wrong address because it kept coming back non-deliverable. So we were doing that, and there was some flack. There was some things among people who throw rocks and hide their hands of, there's a waste of time, money. What is this class all about? Teaching people how to rap, and it was far from that. It was about the history. Eventually in my teachings and my studies, I would get into the spirituality, the economic thing, all of that kind of stuff that played a place, the social situations that were happening at the time at certain records, why hip hop or rap even came about in the first place. Robert Moses, who was responsible for the architecture and the highways and stuff that was going on in New York at the time, the economic thing that was happening in the 70s with Gerald Ford denying New York getting any kind of help, creating disparity, the gangs, the growth of the gangs, all of this stuff going on, that we used hip hop as a tool to get into history and economics and social situations in history. So I decided, because I was still doing a lot of travel, a lot of speaking engagements, to take my camera and my microphone with me and just ask that question. Can Hip Hop Go to School? And it never got released, and one day it will, because the value I have in it from interviews I have with Melly Mel and Africa Bambaataa and Sha Rock, the first woman MC, and even current ones, Curtis Blow. And it's not even fair that I even started trying to name. I got everybody in this thing to ask that question and to speak and to have interviews with academic scholars as well to ask the question. Some liked it and agreed with it. Some didn't agree with it and gave very great articulate answers to it, which was, a very well-rounded piece. So it's laying on quite a few hard drives, hasn't been seen, but it's such a timeless piece that it's not dated. I could put it out at any time and it'll still have value, I would hope and think. But Kid and I believe at that point started touring again a lot. And my next piece would be And I Danced, which I'm currently finishing up now, which is the story of all of the dancers who started out in the low budget, no budget, but now considered the classic music videos at the time, and how those dancers went on to dance with Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, Madonna, Prince, all of that. Extraordinary stories. Yeah.
Awesome.
I hope.
Now there was a question, will there be another house party?
That comes up all the time, and I'm not really interested in doing it, but never say never. There are some things, like I said, some very soon to be announcements that may help scratch an itch or two for those that would like that experience again. I finally said yes to it literally today, like about 2-3 hours ago.
Ooh.
So we'll see, we'll see.
So while we won't discuss the whatever this surprise announcement that may be coming in the next day or two, what else has you busy these days? You're speaking, you're still, well, when there's not a pandemic,
Right.
I know you're you're still traveling to, colleges and universities around the country, still touring from time to time, and of course still putting some time and energy and creativity in your documentaries. What else has you busy these days? I mean, as if that's not enough.
There's no time for anything else. I mean,
Well,
for
what about
me,
brand news?
well, I was going to get to that.
Oh,
The
okay.
blessing in the pandemic, if there could be such a thing, is that it has forced me, and it didn't take any forcing at all. As you already know, I'm pretty much all the recluse. So I'm like recluse paradise right now. But when this thing hit, I just finished 6 advanced screening dates in LA. I did the colleges, all the top colleges in the LA Film School, which was incredible. I got sick the last day of me being there, which was quite an experience itself, because that was the announcement that the pandemic or coronavirus was official. So not knowing what it was going to be, but it was going to be this announcement of this more advanced screenings in New York, and a big party with this big announcement that I was going to do, because it's going to be finished in like 2 weeks. So the dance documentary. So I've been finishing that up, and I've been working on another piece that I'm very proud of because of the experience behind the scene, working with Kenny Gamble of Gamble and Huff. Sounds of Philadelphia. He's my partner in the series we have called The Architects of Hip Hop. The show is already in the can. My first guest is Big Daddy Kane. Surprise guest is Grandmaster Cass. We have interviews, on-location interviews with Papoose and Remy Ma, Fat Joe, Ice Cube, T.I., Nelly. I mean, the list goes on. And if you're familiar with the show Inside the Actors Studio, that's pretty much like the format of it. So I need to go ahead and finish that up and get that out. And we have other future guests on the horizon soon as this thing. But it was filmed at Full Sail University. Very exciting. Being an advocate for education, what was exciting to me, not only having a relationship with a great like Kenny Gamble, responsible for the OJs, Patti LaBelle, the list goes on, but also it was very important to me for this to have been done at a school. And the backstory that we will, definitely put in the spotlight is that the production was done by students. That for those who don't know about Full Sail University, it is a university that deals with the engineering and the science of entertainment. It's not about acting. They're not about acting and singing and all of that in front of the mic, in front of the camera. This university teaches students who are interested in the technology of that community. And so many of them have went on to go to Hollywood. And I attended this thing they call, what's the name of this award show they give there? It'll come to me later. That a lot of these students come back and get these awards because they've been involved with the Marvel movies, Oscar-winning movies and stuff like that. Oh, the name of the place in Birmingham, Fairfield, Alabama.
Okay.
All right, cool. Yeah. So, so we got that, and then Brand News in Life, what Brand News in Life is about is I love the production of cinema. I'm into cinematography and all the other geek stuff that comes along with it. And being maybe what be considered a late starter in it, I try and take care of two things in one move. It's when you're learning and when you're involved in camera work, you'll learn about all kinds of techniques and fundamentals that definitely need to be respected, known, and executed. But then when it gets time to what your technique is going to be, your look, there's no other lesson than on the job experience.
Oh, yeah.
You just got to get out there and hit and miss, fail and succeed. There's nothing like the actual experience. So I came up with this idea that I'm going to do that. But why don't I take care of two birds in one action and document and capture activities of people doing, and our motto is Brand News in Life, about people and events making a difference around the world and even up the street. So to be able to capture that with other like-minded filmmakers and create a program that just spotlights and features people doing interesting things that are not necessarily popular, not yet. Like on our recent show, we did the 2020 Capital Jazz Super Cruise. And I met this extraordinary producer by the name of Zo, Z-O exclamation point. And he's considered in his circles, which is a huge circles, like some would call it neo soul. They call it just R&B, but they consider him like the Quincy Jones in this community. And he's phenomenal. So I had a chance while Kid and I don't know why, but I'm thankful they had Kid and Play on a jazz cruise, but hey, I'll take it. But I met him. Matter of fact, wow, just so happens. That's this thing right here. This is called Skybreak, and an incredible piece. But But I in our current thing, if you go to XOD On Demand, Experience On Demand, he's in our current show, and then also Tallahassee Trainers featuring Kelvin and Vaughn Frazier, where they gave this event at the top of the year called Sweat for the Babies, where all of the Tallahassee trainers all come together under one roof with all of their clients, and they sweat for the babies. And they join forces with Blue Cross and not a fraternity, but what is that you belong to?
Did you really say that? A
sorority. Yeah. Sorority.
Wow.
Blame it on my head, not my heart. Sorority, and raise money for young newborns going through health issues. And then my last story was on a guy named Robert Horton. Thank you, Lord. Robert Horton. They call him Rob Veg Horton, but he goes into trap communities, and creates trap gardens where they raise vegetables and food and stuff after cultivating the soil in a certain park in what's considered trap communities.
Wow.
So, yeah. What's up, Edwin? You said you used to draw when you were younger. Do you have any artwork available for your fans and supporters? Were we ready to take a question, Angela? I didn't mean to take over your job.
No, okay. You good. You good. I guess this is how it would be if we ever hosted something together. It's all
Oh,
good.
that's what's up. Yeah, I mean, some stuff that I've done that you guys are aware of, but you might not know that I did them. Salt and pepper, the salt and pepper jackets that was worn Push It. I designed those.
No
Their
way.
actual, yeah, their actual logo. I did that logo that you see all the time. I've done stuff for Michael Jordan. I've done stuff for Heavy D, his logo, his gear. The first 6 episodes, very first 6 episodes of Martin Lawrence's Def Jam comedy, those outfits are mine. So stuff like that, you know. You know what? Hold tight. Say something to them, Angela. Talk to them.
All right, if you are just joining us for this Hump Day edition of the Angela Ray Show, we are having a conversation with Mr. Christopher Play Martin. You will remember him from House Party 1, House Party 2, House Party 3, and Class Act. These days, he's been keeping busy as an educator, first starting off at Miles College, then North Carolina Central University, then winding it up at Florida A&M. And he's also a documentary filmmaker, so he's been spending quite a bit of time behind the camera. So during this conversation, he's kind of caught us up on some of the documentaries that he's finished and those that are in progress that he'll be completing soon.
Salt and Pepper Express Yourself video. Those are the outfits I did for them. What's this other one? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What else? I was
surprised about the jacket because, there was, when I was young, I wanted one of those jackets. So I actually have like a 2-tone jean jacket that I got spray painted to kind of think I had a salt and pepper jacket.
I'll sue you later. This was done for Arsenio.
Okay.
I'm trying to get it in the right thing, man. What else we got here? Yeah, here we go. Here's the Michael Jordan joints.
MJ. Oh, nice. Oh, yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay. Got a good view of it. Mm-hmm. Nice. Number 23. So I'm just curious, is any of your work that you know of, I don't know if you've been, not to put you on the spot, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the documentary, The Last Dance, but have you seen any of your work in that documentary?
I have to watch it. This was from, House Party? I did those.
Okay.
Nice. I have to look at it and see. The interesting thing about that whole thing that I heard is phenomenal now is that when they first won their first championship, Kid and I were right there. If they would have panned out more, you would have saw us right over him with the champagne and everything going over, because he considered us like his good luck charms, because when we were both together, they would win.
Okay.
But and we were with him all night. He never changed out of his gear, his uniform. He stayed in it all night. We hung out in his suite with him and his wife at the time and all of that. Oh, here we go. Here's Martin, one of the outfits with Def Jam.
I remember that outfit. Wow. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah, it's stuff I did for Chuck D, Public Enemy.
PE.
The logo.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and this isn't even the half of it, but this is a favorite of mine. Iman, the model.
Mm-hmm.
She was so gracious enough to wear my gear.
Wow.
That was huge. And I loved.
Yes, you did.
It's interesting because on my birthday party, Kid and them threw me a surprise birthday party. And she and her husband, David Bowie, came to my party. Here's us hanging out with Mike with a different jacket I designed called Game. The Kid is wearing.
Okay.
This is us clowning around with him. But yeah, it's all good. Then I was big into women's fashions.
Okay. Is that a leather jacket?
Yeah, leather jacket and pants. That's what I specialized in, because my good friend, and still is Dapper Dan. Oh, here's some more stuff Iman wore.
Nice.
But Dapper Dan, and I actually put the jackets together at Dapper Dan's, but I had designed them. And Oh, here's the Michael Jordan jacket before we actually gave it to him to get a better look.
Okay. Oh, that says air.
Yeah,
Of course it does.
right. But third base for the hip hop heads.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was my stuff I did for Heavy D and the boys. But anyway, y'all get it. But yeah, so my thing is I do have drawings that's what I thought I was gonna go get. But yeah, that's my therapy when I was can you still hear me good?
We can, yes.
Okay. That was my therapy. And still is my therapy, is to draw and design, but I do a lot of stuff digitally now. Josette Hamrick, your versatility is so admirable. Oh gosh. What advice would you give to any of our young entrepreneurs who are struggling to make it? This might be a frustrating answer, but it's the truth. Don't quit. I remember I used to be in a band way before all of this happened that I've shared with you guys. I used to play lead and rhythm guitar, and me and my other bandmates, we were crazy young. We were like, what, 12, 13, something like that. We wanted to be the Jackson 5 version of musicians, because the Jackson 5, they had their thing, but we wanted to be young cats that actually played at the level that we played, excuse me. And we were pretty much like an Earth, Wind and Fire cover band, but we did a lot of whatever the hits was that was going on at the time in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And, I got really frustrated with that. I was like, man, we're good. Why aren't we making it? And then the streets got me for all kinds of reasons. But, you just can't give up. And even when before Kid and I were Kid and I, it was frustrating, for doors to be slammed in your face and all of this and people not to get it and this, that, and this, but don't give up. I mean, I know it doesn't sound like the best resonating answer, but it's the truth. It's like, and before even that, you got to really question yourself and ask yourself, why do you want to do that? Because if your agenda and your motives is on some other stuff, you might still succeed. I like this this phrase that I heard from Dr. A.R. Bernard. You can get success without God, but you cannot enjoy it without him. So for you to be able to achieve what you want to achieve with some ulterior motives, you're probably going to go through some things that are going to be tormenting, where if it was for the person who is naturally supposed to do it or supposed to do it, those things still may be challenging, but not as heavy weighted down as a person is. It's not really in their heart for the right reasons to do it. So you got to ask yourself that. And once you have that answer, and hopefully it is what you're supposed to be doing, you just can't give up. Like even in this time of this quarantine or pandemic thing we're going through, it's bad. It's rough. It has its unfortunate situations with people, and prayerfully they're in a better place. But at the same time, what it's going to do economically, a lot of people don't know, or some who do know have forgot. A lot of successful people, / millionaires, came out of the Great Depression. So now certain things that wouldn't be paid attention to before, or certain things that wouldn't have been in demand before, there are going to be voids that need to be filled. There are going to be people who have changed because of who knows what went on privately in their own lives, like a Ebenezer Scrooge type thing, life-changing thing, where they're different now. And now that they're online trying to watch stuff for out of boredom or to be entertained and kill time, they will see stuff they wouldn't have saw when life was the way we knew it before, because they would have been distracted. They would have been in it, but now they're forced. You have a captive audience now for a selective some. So I'll put that out there. Okay.
You got another question.
What's the name of your clothing line? Nothing. I don't have a clothing line, but when I did have it, it was called Foreplay. It was IV, the Roman numeral 4, PLAI. I tried to get all fancy and French on them with a little accent over the I, but it was called Foreplay. A little clever, right?
Very. So how can so you said you don't have a clothing line. Will you ever go back to designing? Do you think? Like, and how
No,
would the average person?
no, I see. It was interesting you asked that question after what I just said. When I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. I was doing it for attention. I was doing it to it wasn't like I was really into the art of clothing. If I was to do it now, I probably would be, but that's
Okay.
not what I'm meant to do. Everything that you're good at doesn't mean it's good for you. So for me, when I was doing it before and owning the store and all of that, it was just like, and then back then it was pages and beepers, and whenever my pager went off, it was like, oh, the anxiety I would go through, because it's like, what now? I was very rarely used to any good news coming. And so that's pretty much why I let that go, because it wasn't really my true passion at the time. It was for me to be noticed.
Gotcha. All right, we're getting ready to start wrapping this conversation up with Mr. Christopher Play Martin. If you have any additional questions, now is definitely the time to ask before we wrap this conversation up. So, in addition to the documentaries that are coming out, of course, you are continuing with Brand News. And how often is Brand News broadcast?
Once a month.
Okay.
Once a month, because there's a lot that goes into it. When I tried to do that weekly thing, keeping up with the Joneses, competition, it was killing me, and it wasn't meant to be that way. Like I said, it's supposed to be something that I continue to grow and get better at, but at the same time be a blessing to others with exposure and stuff. So it's once a month. The next one will be out in about a week. I'm very excited about it. I got a good friend and author by the name of, you might know, Ed Garnes. You remember, Ed Garnes?
The name is
Yeah, he's a
familiar.
speaker. He's at is he at Clark? I forgot what university he's at in Atlanta, but he wrote
Yeah,
a
because his
book
wife is in business too, right?
probably.
Okay.
But he has a thing called From Afros to Shell Toes and Sweet Tea Ethics and all of that. So we get into the talk of something I don't normally do when I deal with something that's not so happy and current, but there's no ignoring the kind of disparities and the effects that this thing is having on our people, and it leads to where we at with our health. And then this other feature about women who celebrate their fathers, and what's the other piece? There's a couple other pieces, but yeah, that'll be out in about a week. But it's XOD, Experience on Demand. You can follow me on _playgrounds with a Z at the end. That's me personally. But you got It's Brand News, which is ITZBRAND. I'm big with Z's. Wherever there's supposed to be an S, there's a Z. So yeah, I'm not hard to find.
You got another question?
Oh, Natalie, please forgive me if I butcher this. Buckham, have you given any thought
Close.
to what your legacy would be? Is this even important to you? Yeah, very much so. I don't know what it'll be. Maybe a Renaissance man. One person I like a lot that I try to follow because I liked his journey is Gordon Parks. That's the reason why I originally was called as Angela Knows, because Angela, I couldn't afford her, but she was pretty much our main person. I'm going to bring her back for
Wow.
Brand News in Life. But
Wow.
it was first called Brand News, but I add in life because when I learned more about Gordon Parks and how he became this major photographer for Life magazine. And then when he got into cinematography, and he's the one who directed and produced Shaft, which was a game changer in Black cinema. And it's interesting because they try and group that movie in as a Black exploitation film, and that couldn't be the furthest thing from the truth, because Shaft was a detective. He wasn't a drug dealer. People think they group those in. But anyway, that has something to do with how I'm feeling about my legacy, like the legacy he left. Edwin's back. What scripture or biblical saying keeps you going forward? It's what I pose to people to do for me, which is Romans 15:30, chapter 15, verse 30. And paraphrasing it, it just goes, please pray for me and the work that I do. And what I would give to y'all is Philippians 1:6. May God, I'm paraphrasing, may God continue to do the work that he's begun in you. Danielle Morrissey, do you offer mentorship? Indirectly, in an unorthodox type way. The answer is yes, but I haven't figured out how directly. Michelle C. Coleman. Oh, they're coming in. No question, but I thank you for all you've done for the hip hop community, and thank you for all you've done for the young adults at the universities. Keep walking in your destiny. From your lips to God's ears, pray for me, and I certainly want to and shall. Renee being me. Oh, I'm butchering these last names. Christopher, I love your love of God and admire your humility. You're what I consider a multi-potentialite. Like that. You have many interests and talents and successfully pursue them all. Kudos to you. Very aspiring. I mirror that right back to you as well. And in all your endeavors, no matter what they may be, anything but negative. But thank you very much. God bless you greatly.
Any final, I think that's all for the questions for right now. Any final words that you want to share?
I think I've said them all. I thank you for having me at your house party. I really appreciate that. I'm really proud of you. Always have been. Your voice is the best. That's why I needed to be a part of Brand News and Life. Maybe we just have you do voiceovers for it or something like that. But for the
Okay.
time being, I can put together some coins. I got a jar with some quarters in it that I can get together some stuff. But no, seriously, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate this. Going to be kind of active. As a matter of fact, I'm doing an interview tomorrow with the Atlanta Business Journal at 1:00. I got that on my Instagram thing, that notice. And then with Claudia Jordan with the Fox Soul thing, we're doing that tomorrow night. So excited about that, but going to be a little bit more active. And Kid and I have some pretty good news coming up during this time of us, practicing being at home. We got a pretty big offer that's kind of hard to refuse and be able to involve our friends. And I'll use this as a clue. It involves pajamas.
Ooh, a pajama jammy jam. I don't know, maybe. Who knows? I guess we'll just stay
All
tuned.
y'all see is what I'm wearing up top. You don't know what I have on the bottom.
We sure don't. We sure
All
don't.
you see is
We
what's
may
up
not want to though. We may not want to know. I don't know.
I'm it's pajamas. Thank you, Danielle. I just read what you put. I appreciate that. God bless you.
Well, all right. I guess it's about time for me to wind down this
Well,
house party.
I'm so glad we had this time together.
Oh, you went
What
way
you
back,
know about that?
1979. That's Carol Burnett. She always did that to end her shows.
That's
She's
right.
one of the comedians that I really admire, because when I look at that show is in reruns right now on MeTV and a couple
That's
of
what I
other
watch.
stations.
When I want to escape this world as we know it, MeTV with all of those classics, from Twilight Zone to
Classics.
Alfred Hitchcock to
Mm-hmm.
Petticoat Junction to all of that stuff. Yes.
Yeah, I think that show though is if
Brilliant.
someone wants to, exactly, if you want to learn how to do comedy, watch the
Tim
Carol Burnett
Conway,
show.
Harvey Korman, all of them.
Vicki
Classic.
Lawrence,
The one
all
was
of
so
them.
great. Yes, she had a hit single when the night when the lights went out in Georgia. But the amazing thing about that show that I love was how they would break character and even laugh at themselves, laugh at the jokes themselves. It was the best. Yeah.
It was hard not to. Tim Conway was just ridiculous, and
The best.
I feel like
Mr.
their goal,
Miss
right?
Higgins. Yeah.
Mr. DeWiggins. I think their goal was to see if they could make each other crack. I really do. I think that was their goal, and
I would agree with that. Yeah.
They made it enjoyable. Definitely.
Cool.
Well, all right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us tonight. And again, if you all been paying attention, Christopher's Instagram as well as his website has been scrolling on the bottom of the screen. If you would like to connect, that's a great way to connect with him.
Cool.
Well, have a great evening.
Love, peace, and hair grease. Take it easy, Greasy. You got a long way to slide.
Wow. And on that note, good night. All right. Thank you all so much for hanging out on this Wednesday Hump Day edition of the Angela Ray Show. As always, remind you of Ray of Motivation number 54, which is cleaning a mirror will not change the person who's reflected in it. As always, I just want to remind you to go out and be the change. Have a great evening. Until next. If the broadcast will let me end, doesn't seem like it wants to end tonight. Maybe we're supposed to keep going. Bye-bye.